quiero ser ese hombre que se enreda en ti una y otra vez. Sí que mátame decente. Lánzame un swing, swing, lánzame un swing y bátete el pelo. Acércate un chin, chin, acércate un chin y hazlo de nuevo. Que te quiero decir algo yo, que cada paso que tú echas no. Me arrugo, derrito por ti lentamente. Lánzame un swing, swing, lánzame un swing y bátete el pelo. Acércate un chin, chin, acércate un chin y hazlo de nuevo. Que te quiero decir algo yo, que cada paso que tú echas no. Cada paso que tú echas no. Me arrugo, derrito por ti lentamente. Me arrugo, derrito por ti lentamente. Oh. Me arrugo, derrito por ti lentamente. Es complicado verte, olerte y pasarte a un lado y querer detenerte. Ay, qué complicado, esto es demasiado. Pero como el ajedrez, la reina cae alguna vez. Escucha bien mi voz, que esto queda entre tú y yo. In somebody else's car.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a quick chance to stretch, get your snacks. We are ready to get started with our Cleft community panel. The student from their College Leadership Council who will be introducing them is Rose. So I will pass it over to you, Rose.
Hi guys, my name is Rose and I am on the U.S. College Leadership Team, and I will be introducing the Cleft panel. The people on this panel are Operation Smile volunteers who were all born with a cleft. This panel started at the 2017 ISLC in Rome, Italy, and has continued ever since. This panel will be a great way for other students to understand what it's like for someone to be born with a cleft, learn about the challenges that these students faced, and the obstacles they overcame. I will now pass it on to Brady.
Hello, thank you so much for the kind words, Rose. I'm very excited to be back, and we can go ahead and get right into it. I think I'm able to share my screen.
Yes, you can share your screen.
Okay, perfect. Okay, am I all good there? Everyone can see?
Yep, we got it.
Perfect. So again, thank you for the introduction, Rose. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Brady Hishma, a longtime volunteer of Operation Smile. And I know that many of us have a very special connection to Operation Smile, and that connection drives us to continue to contribute to this incredible organization each and every day. My connection is through my own personal experiences. I was born with a bilateral cleft lip and palate, but unlike the individuals that Operation Smile aids, I was born here in the US, where access to safe and well-timed medical care is not a scarcity. At the time of my birth, cleft lip was not as well known as it is today. And as a result, the first recommended course of care for my condition was a plastic surgeon in the hospital where I was born, who specialized in breast enhancement operations. Needless to say, my parents did not pursue that route, and through research found Shriners Hospital, a pediatric reconstructive plastic surgery unit that was more adequately equipped to deal with my cleft. As an infant, I had several operations to repair my lip, palate, and airway so as to better ensure a better quality of life. These operations are the ones Operation Smile performs on their patients around the world, ensuring the safety and longevity of children who otherwise would not have access to these resources. For me, my journey did not end there. As I stated before, being born in the US means that you have access to more care than others do around the world. Therefore, I was able to receive numerous other surgeries to better enable my body and my face to function like anybody else's. These operations were grueling at times, and the effect that they had on my social growth was detrimental at best. In my elementary and middle school years, I was called names based on my facial differences from my peers. I was referred to as nose freak and no lip. It was middle school, their insults weren't exactly at the top of their game. That being said, the constant reminder of the differences between myself and my fellow students served to give me feelings of isolation and issues mustering the self-esteem in order to make an attempt to form friendships or meaningful relationships. I had this mindset throughout most of my childhood until I began involvement with Operation Smile in my early years of high school. In 2014, I attended ISLC and my perspective began to change. I was surrounded by people who didn't hold their gaze too long, didn't ask questions about my appearance, and didn't treat me any differently than anyone else present at the conference. I fell in love with this feeling of acceptance and dedicated myself to the organization. Since that fateful summer, I have done what I can to serve Operation Smile, including attending a medical mission that provided me with another new perspective. I was in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, surrounded by children who, just like me, were different from their peers for something they could not control. Only in that moment, I realized that there was something separating me from them. I was the one lucky enough not to live 6 to 8 to even 14 years with my unrepaired lip. We even operated on a 55-year-old woman with an unrepaired cleft. I had only lived a few months with mine. With that presentation of my privilege so apparent and plain before me, I had an epiphany. I discarded my feelings of worthlessness, my feelings of separation and isolation, and my negative thoughts of my cleft with them. I realized that my calling was compassion, locked behind a door of self-hate. My cleft and this realization was the key that opened the door and allowed me to begin a new journey. As Rose said, I began this panel 4 years ago at another ISLC in Rome. I had spoken with the staff about sharing my experiences with Cleft on stage, and they had accepted. I wrote a whole speech that was to last longer than any public speaking engagement I had ever had before, and was so excited to share my story. However, the day before my keynote, I sat down to a little luncheon with my friends that are joining me here today, as well as a few others. I realized that my story and my experience was but only a small fraction of the insights to be gained. I asked my new friends if they would like to join me on stage for a quick Q&A panel, not knowing what it would turn into. And I was, in order to help our peers in the audience better understand all of our perspectives and all of our points of view. I am so excited to be joined by them today, along with some new faces and new perspectives to share with you just how important the mission of Operation Smile is. So I'd like to invite all of you, my panelists, up onto, I don't know how that works. Can we pin them or?
Yes, I think we should be able to spotlight them.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry, just trying to find everybody.
No worries.
And perhaps we give a round of applause for Brady's talk. Great talk, Brady.
Thanks, Tim.
Sorry, just trying to get through.
Oh, no worries.
I think, Guanchi, you're the only one who might be able to have that power. I think we're getting there. Do you see Mara?
Mara's unfortunate. Oh, Mara's here. Donae is not able to make it today. Unfortunately, she's in bed with COVID and is hopefully feeling better, but is joining us on the live stream. I think she's watching. So luckily she's here in spirit. But yeah, so this is our little group of Cleft panelists. If you guys want to go, we can go down the line and introduce ourselves one at a time. I've already had more than enough time to speak on my behalf, but Leah, if you'd like to follow up and just give a brief explanation.
Hi, greetings from Georgia. I am the mother of a cleft child, so it's great to hear. I'm excited to hear the other people on this panel and hear their side of things.
Christy?
Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. I'm just so excited. So many smile people that I've learned so much over this last stupid COVID year. Oh, it just warms my heart to see everyone. And I love you all so much. And thank you for the people who already sent me messages. I'm Christine Eastlander, and I have had the amazing privilege of going on, I think, 18 missions as a student sponsor, and have, through my love for Operation Smile, changed career paths and became a nurse about 7.5 years ago. Thank you to Operation Smile, and it was the best career change ever. And I love everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy you guys are all here.
It's so good to see you too, Christy. It's been way too long. Amelie?
Hi, I'm Amelie Hip. I'm currently in Pennsylvania, but I go to school in Colorado, and I was born with a unilateral cleft lip.
Flo?
Hi everyone, I'm Flo. I'm from San Francisco, California. I'm currently a sophomore at Scripps College, and I have a unilateral cleft lip and palate.
Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm half Irish, half Belgian, originally from Dublin. I live in London, but right now I am in Glasgow visiting my sister. I've been on 2 medical missions at Operation Smile.
Rosie?
Hey guys, I'm Rosie. I'm originally from New Jersey, but which is where I am now, but I go to school at the University of Richmond, and I was born with a unilateral cleft lip.
Zoe?
Hi, my name's Zoe. I'm from England, and I go to Newcastle University studying speech therapy, and I was born with a cleft lip, not cleft lip, sorry. I was born with a cleft palate.
Mara?
Hey guys, I'm Mara. I'm from Virginia Beach. I go to the University of South Carolina. I was born with a unilateral cleft lip, and I went on my mission to India in 2018.
That's so awesome. Yeah, so this is our little group. We all met at various Operation Smile events. Most of my friends here were on that first initial panel in Rome. And I think some of you have been on other panels. I haven't been able to make any of the other ones, unfortunately. But like I said in my little brief introduction, my whole thought behind it was allowing or enabling everyone at the conference to better gain a broad perspective of all of our experiences, because my experiences are so much different from Amelie's or from Flo's or from the experiences that Leah's son has had or will have. They're vastly different from Christy's experiences. So having those different perspectives and just enabling you guys and everyone else to better understand kind of the things that we've had to face and potentially change them in the future, so that other students and other children going into the world with cleft conditions won't have to face those same challenges. Christy, would you like to share a little story about some of your experiences as both an adult with cleft condition and as a nurse for Operation Smile with cleft?
Yes. I don't know. Do you want me to?
This is so informal. We're just here. Like, I feel like I'm kind of drawing it out as like this formal thing that it's just so not that.
Oh gosh, where to even start? Oh, Tim, you just popped up in front of my face. Hi, Tim.
Oh, hello.
Gosh, I don't know. I kind of feel, guys, I'm just so emotional. I'm just so happy to see everyone. And then on top of world stuff yesterday and working a night shift, I'm like, I don't know if I'm in the right frame of mind. I guess I do have a story to share, and I guess I'll just share how I got to the point where I am. I became involved with Operation Smile later in life. maybe than most of you guys. Having a cleft lip and cleft palate was kind of something that I shut away in my earlier years. Something I never really thought much of. When I was younger, I just knew that, looking back, I knew that I didn't like being made fun of, and I didn't like looking different. But I never really realized that I shut it out of my life until I had my big aha moment. Basically, I just share a little bit about myself. I love people. I love kids. I love babies. And I remember one time I was at church, and we had one of my church neighbors had just come back to church after having a baby. And I was so excited to see her baby. I had not heard anything of the baby's status, but I just knew that she was here with her baby, and I was so excited. And I run off to see her after church and to see her baby. And I see that the baby has a cleft, and I immediately turn away, which is not me at all. And I never thought much about it again. Also, my mom was a nurse all through my growing up years. And when I was, about the time I was graduating from high school, so close to your guys' age, my mom heard about Operation Smile, and she thought, that would be an amazing experience for me as a mom and a nurse to go do something like this with you, who's the patient. And also, just a little side note of me, I've always drove my parents crazy with all my little service projects I was always getting into, and so she just thought it would be awesome for us to do this together, and was shocked when my answer to her was, have fun, don't let the door hit you on the way out. I wanted nothing to do with it. Again, something totally not me, and something that, man, I already need tissues, and I don't have any right here.
Cleft panel, we got to come prepared for this.
No. So definitely a response that was not me. And again, something I just kind of stuffed in my luggage and never thought much about until I was 21 and wanted to volunteer I wanted to get a volunteer position at our local children's hospital. And I was being interviewed, and the gal interviewing me asked me why I wanted to be a volunteer. And I just mentioned that I pretty much grew up at Primary Children's Hospital in Salt Lake City, Utah, and that I just kind of wanted to give back what volunteers gave to me over the years in all my hospital stays. And right there, she asked me, she's like, well, if you come in contact with any babies with clefts, is that going to be hard for you? So it was her asking me that question right then and there that I'm like, I remembered this church incident, and I remembered my reaction to my mom when she wanted to get involved with Operation Smile. And it was just like punched me in the gut. I'm like, holy crap, I do have a problem with that. No other problem has ever bugged me in the world. I mean, I love people who are different. I love it all. But it's just like I said, socked me in the gut. I'm like, wow, I do have a problem with that. And I don't know what I'd do. But obviously I wanted the position, so I lied and I said no. I'm like, what are the chances I'm ever going to come in contact with that anyway? Well, chances are 9 months later, I was just making my rounds, seeing my assigned kids that I was supposed to check on when I was volunteering this one day. And my first little patient of the day was, I don't even know how old he was, probably like 3 months. I don't even think about what I'm going into. I'm just kind of like so excited to be here at the hospital this day, and I'm going to go snuggle a baby. Yay. So I just go bouncing in this baby's room and then just like stop. I just like hit a glass wall when I bounced into this kiddo's room and saw this little baby boy with a cleft lip laying in the crib. And I didn't know what to do. Like my heart started racing. I literally, like you see in the movies, I'm like sweating and heart palpitations, and I just didn't know what to do. And something just told me in my mind, Christy, he's your responsibility now. And so I was so scared. I didn't know why. I was so scared. And I went over to the crib, and picked him up, and I sat down in the rocking chair with him. And I just looked at his sweet little face, and I just bawled. And I just held him so close and rocked him for my entire shift. He was my first patient of the day, and I just sat with him the whole shift, and I just cried as I looked at his face, and I saw in his eyes a life that no one else knows, and a path that no one else has been down. And I knew what it was like to not have anyone understand what I was going through. And I knew that he was going to be facing that in times in his life too. And that was my big aha moment that literally changed my life. I mean, literally changed my life. I feel like I am who I am because of Operation Smile and because of my Cleft. But that moment there, I realized I need to come to terms with this, and I have been so blessed to overcome this, and I have so much to share. And like I said, I knew what it was like to not have anyone understand what I was going through, and I needed to be there for other people like me. I call us my people. These are my people. So like our own little, I don't know, can I say that? It's our own little race or whatever.
Definitely.
Probably shouldn't say things like that. But I feel like we just have this amazing connection, and I feel so connected to anyone else with the Cleft, and it's just so awesome to me. Anyway, I went home that night, and 180 degrees. I was Googling up, trying to figure out how to get involved with Smile, and boy, my life has never been the same since then. And like I said, I was, older, getting involved. And so student programs was, being a student was not in the possibility for me. But I did find out how to become involved in student programs still. And I've been so blessed to be involved with student programs. I love it so much. Even after becoming a nurse, I tell everyone back at headquarters, I'm like, you're stuck with me. I'm not going the nursing route. I'm staying with student programs because that's where I feel like have the most to offer. And I just love student programs. I love being part of the missions, watching the change in the students. I see several of my own students here in the chat, and I'm so excited to see messages from them and their faces, and I love you guys so much. Okay. So much more to share, but I know there's other people, so I will turn the time over to other people. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, no worries at all. Thank you so much. What an empowering and just incredibly powerful experience. And thank you so much for sharing that. I know that we met several years ago, and I don't even remember which ISLC it was, but you've always been a beacon of hope for me, and knowing that things get better, and just knowing that there are other people in the world that have shared the same experiences as me. So I thank you for that personally, but that story was incredibly empowering. So I know we have the breakout rooms coming up, but Leah, if you'd like to close out this little session. Actually, I think Bridget has some words.
You guys why don't you keep going, and because we're going to stay in the big group.
All right, perfect.
Okay. So everybody can have a chance to share.
Yeah,
something.
definitely.
Okay.
So I know, Leah, I think you were planning on having you close out. But if you want to go now, or we can move on to someone else, or
let's have Leah close out.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So does anyone else have a specific experience or story they want to share, or we can go into a Q&A session with the viewers?
I actually had a cool moment on my mission.
Definitely.
So, yeah, like I mentioned earlier when I was introducing myself, I went to India in 2018. And I think Christy was the one who told me, like, oh, by the way, you should bring your baby picture. Like, you should print it out, bring it, show the mom, show the patients, show everyone you can, because it's like a before and after. Like, it's like the hope, because a lot of these parents go into like the mission, like, I'm giving my trust to this organization that I don't know. I don't know this organization. I don't know if my kid's gonna be okay, like, and the list goes on. So I brought my baby picture, and I was sitting in the child specialist room, so like right before surgery. And I like pulled out my picture and I showed the mom next to me. And like she was like, "Oh, that's a cool picture. Like, yeah, that's looks like my kid." And then I pointed from the picture to me and I showed her my scar, and then like her eyes lit up. She was like, "No way." And then she like took the picture out of my hands and then called the moms around her to come look at it. And they're all just looking at me, looking at the picture, back and forth, then looking at their kids kind of thing. And then so that was like a really cool moment. And then the same mom, it was like hours later, her daughter was finally in surgery, and I see her sitting outside the OR room. Like her head was in her knees and she was like rocking back and forth. She was so stressed. And I like sit down next to her, and then she just hugs me. She's just like I don't know, it was just so much stress, and like to see me and to see like what the life her daughter could have. She was just like, I don't know, I just saw the stress like leave her body. And then the moms came around me, and then later that whole week, I guess, like they were saying, "Oh, it's the girl with like the red hair or something, like she's the one." And then moms like throughout the week kept on like pulling me aside, asking for the picture and stuff. So it was really cool to be that person for them and to give them that hope and that reassurance that your kid's going to be okay, everything's going to be fine. So that was a really cool experience.
That's very cool. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
I have an experience that's kind of similar to both Christy and Mara. So when I was younger, it was just kind of like my cleft lip was something that like wasn't really talked about. It's not that like my parents or sister like didn't care. It just wasn't something that we really talked about. And I have this one memory from when I was about like 7 or 8 years old, when I was at church with my entire family, and my dad saw a baby that had a cleft lip that hadn't gotten surgery yet. And my dad like takes me and he's like, "Oh, come with me." And he went up to the mom and he was like, "Oh, like my daughter like was born with a cleft lip too, like you're gonna be fine." Just gave her the reassurance. And I remember like looking at my dad and being like so confused, like, "Why did you do that? Like, we don't even talk about this. Like, why did you go tell this stranger that?" And so I remember just kind of being confused for a few years. And then my dad was like, "Oh, like one day like you'll understand." And then on my mission, I went to Mexico and I did the same thing. I brought baby pictures of myself, and I was sitting with like the patients before and the patients and their families. And I don't speak any Spanish, so there's a complete like language barrier, but being able to show my baby pictures and like show the parents and exactly what like Mara said, like point to like myself and like have like be able to connect on something that even like the fact that there was a language barrier, like that didn't change it. It was just like one of the most like powerful like moments of my life. And I'd like literally have chills right now and I like can't stop thinking about it. And it was just like one of like the best moments of my life to be able to like be there for someone that I don't even speak the same language as. And it's just been amazing to see how like my experience with Operation Smile has kind of like shaped who I am. And when I wake up in the morning, I don't look in the mirror and think my cleft lip isn't really like the first thing that I see, but it's definitely what shapes like every day of my life and like how I treat people, and like having this group of people with Operation Smile to like connect to and like know that I can share like my experience with you guys. And it's been great. And I know in 2017 when we had that first panel, like I was too nervous to go up there. I said to like the group of us, I was like, "I'm too nervous to go up and share my experience," because I just wasn't sure of like, great to do that this time. So I'm just really grateful for the community that Operation Smile has given me, and like the confidence that I've gotten from my experience and being able to share that with people from honestly like all over the world. So
Thank you, Rose. That was awesome.
Oh, I have something as well that's kind of similar. I actually forgot to say earlier, I have a unilateral, even cleft lip and palate. But I went on 2 missions, Mexico and China, and similar things happened there. But in China, there was actually one teenager, and because obviously a lot of the kids, they're a lot younger, but with the teenager, I don't speak Mandarin. I don't even speak whatever language that was like the regional language there. I did have a translator though, which was amazing. But I spoke to this teenager. She was learning English in school, so we broke in English as well. But it was amazing to just connect with someone that age and to be able to inspire them. And she was kind of like, "Oh, but I'm not very good at English. I'm not." And I was trying to inspire her and tell her like, just do what you want to do, all that kind of stuff. And then when they were leaving after she'd healed a little bit, I think she stayed there about a day, one night. But the next day when she was leaving, her mother came up to me and said, "Thank you." And they don't know any English. Like the people who know no English, no one in that part of China really speaks it. And to hear someone who knows no English say that to me and say thank you and give me a hug, and she was crying. And that's what I wrote my mission story about. It was just absolutely so emotional. And something similar happened in Mexico. I know like a tiny bit of Spanish, but in Mexico, their accent's very different. And this grandmother comes up to me and she's just like saying loads of things in tears. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. But she came to me, I think because she knew I had the cleft and I'd been showing my picture around like the other people have been saying. Yeah, it's just incredible to like connect with people like that. And one more, this is not on a mission. I was working on a ship at the beginning, just before COVID. I was on a ferry and I saw a little girl with a cleft, and she'd been adopted from somewhere in Asia. I can't remember where it is exactly. But yeah, I told her parents, I was like, I have a cleft too, and it was the exact same size as me, and it was just really cute. She didn't really understand what was going on. I was trying to tell her, and I speak French and she and English, and she speaks French and English. So I was like, we have a lot in common, and I just told the parents, I was like, everything's gonna be fine. I've been through it all. So that was a really lovely moment as well.
That's awesome. And feel free to jump in, guys, if you want to go. If you don't have anything, that's all right too. I know something that I left out from one of my talk, and I'm sure people are getting sick of hearing me speak about me and my experiences, but on my mission, similar to what Mara and Rosie shared, in Addis Ababa, there was a little girl who I had spent a lot of time with leading up to her surgery day. We pulled her into the child life area a little early just because she was getting agitated, and it was just an easier place for her to kind of wait for her operation. So she was in there for a few hours, and we were just like playing with some of the toys, going over how to put on the anesthesia mask. And her father was starting to get a little nervous that she wasn't going to get surgery or anything. But he and I were sitting together, kind of playing with her with some of the toys. And he looked at me with a different gaze and kind of expression than he had before. And I realized he kind of had noticed my scars. And he pointed at his daughter's lip, and then he pointed at my lip, and I nodded, and I said, yes, like I gestured to the two of us. I unfortunately didn't have pictures of my own. I wish I had, hearing these incredible stories, but the look of relief that came over his face, as well as just the ultimate pride and happiness that he felt when she came out of surgery and he saw her lip repaired the next morning and the next day, that image and that sense of just pride that I had in that little girl for going through that surgery and coming out on top, just looking so incredibly beautiful, that'll stay with me for the rest of my life. And that little girl, I think about her probably every day at this point still. Even I think it's 6 years since my mission. But yeah, these experiences definitely, for what they're worth, are forming. I wouldn't be the same person I am today if I hadn't gone to that ISLC in 2014. I wouldn't be the same person today if I hadn't met all of these wonderful people in Rome, in any of the other ISLCs. And I'm incredibly grateful to each and every one of them, as well as Operation Smile in and of itself, for providing me with these opportunities to grow as a person and better understand both myself and realize that I'm not alone, and I have so many other incredible people to share this world with.
Thank you, Brady. Leah, do you want to just say a few words, and then we'll open it up to questions?
Sure. I'm so glad to be on here. Bridget asked if I would just pop on and maybe say a few words about what it's like to be the mom of a cleft baby. It's great to hear. I always love hearing y'all's side because it kind of gives me a glimpse into maybe what my son isn't saying to me, or he is very open with me, but there's still nothing like going through it yourself. We got involved with Operation Smile because of Les, and he is now 11 years old and he's had 10 surgeries. So I came across, I'm sure, I don't know if many of y'all have heard this story or the essay called Welcome to Holland. It's pretty popular among moms and dads with kids with disabilities, but I'm going to read this to you and kind of explains what being a mom of a special needs baby is like. It's called Welcome to Holland. When you're going to have a baby, it's like planning a fabulous vacation trip to Italy. You buy a bunch of guidebooks and make your wonderful plans. The Colosseum, the Michelangelo David, the gondolas in Venice. You may learn some handy phrases in Italian. It's all very exciting. After months of eager anticipation, the day finally arrives. You pack your bags and off you go. Several hours later, the plane lands. The stewardess comes in and says, "Welcome to Holland." Holland, you say? What do you mean, Holland? I signed up for Italy. I'm supposed to be in Italy. All my life, I've dreamed of going to Italy. But there's been a change in the flight plan. They've landed in Holland, and there you must stay. The important thing is that they haven't taken you to a horrible, disgusting, filthy place full of pestilence, famine, and disease. It's just a different place. So you must go out and buy new guidebooks. You must learn a whole new language, and you will meet a whole new group of people you would never have met. It's just a different place. It is slower paced than Italy, less flashy than Italy. But after you've been there for a while and catch your breath, you look around and you begin to notice that Holland has windmills and Holland has tulips. Holland even has Rembrandts. But everyone you know is busy coming and going from Italy. And for the rest of your life, you will say, yes, that's where I was supposed to go. That's what I had planned. But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you didn't get to go to Italy, you may never be free to enjoy the very special, the very lovely things about Holland. Les's pediatrician told me about that poem just in passing one time when I was in there for a checkup. And it explains from my perspective as a mom so well, because Les was my second child. So I had a 2-year-old who I nursed for 13 months. He had, maybe one ear infection. I thought I had already gone through, I was totally planned for Italy. I didn't think anything was going to be different. I followed every guideline there was. I didn't eat feta cheese. I slept on my left side. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. There was no prior families members with cleft lip and palate, nothing out of that. And they missed the deformity on the 20-week ultrasound. So it was a complete surprise. So I didn't know until he was born. So it was a shock. It really was a shock to have that. But I cannot even imagine not having Les and being a part of his journey now. And when I told Bridget briefly too, this kind of ties into y'all as college students in a way also. In life right now, you're like, okay, what's your major? What are you going to do when you graduate? What's your next step? And you already have these things lined up as you think they're going to be. And it's just a really good reminder that sometimes we don't always land where we plan. So I would just encourage you to, in advance, think about how you're going to respond in life when things don't go as planned. But Holland is a very beautiful, beautiful place. And I'm certainly glad I did not land in Italy, because I have, there's great things about being normal, but Les is fully, functioning and doing well, just like each and every person on this panel. And I'm just excited to be a part of it.
Thank you. That was very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That essay or poem is definitely analogous of some of the experiences that I'm sure all of our parents had to face and some of the things that we may have faced as well. But we would love to go into a little Q&A session. So please, anyone in the audience, feel free to ask questions. I know I personally will not be offended by any sort of question, so I will gladly answer any questions, and I know that my my fellow panelists here would love to answer questions as well. So feel free to go ahead and shoot away anything you have in mind.
While we're waiting for questions, this is something I was thinking about, just, listening to everyone's stories. I mean, the panel, I've heard your stories before. We've talked amongst ourselves, even more intimate, which has been amazing. But something I just wanted to point out is we as the panel, we have this common ground, but we are no different from anyone else joining this seminar this morning. Everyone has challenges. And I kind of like the analogy of your challenge, like of having your own Everest, Mount Everest, and what greater challenge than to climb Mount Everest. And so I kind of like to think of challenges as Everests. And when I think of my most difficult challenges in life, what is my biggest Everest? It's definitely everything I dealt with as growing up as a cleft patient. And it's definitely something I would never, ever trade. If I could pick my own problems that I was to be born with, I'm so glad that I was born with a cleft, and because literally it's made me who I am today. 100%. I would not be the person I am today if I was not born with a cleft lip and cleft palate. If Operation Smile hadn't come into my life, I credit that all the time. I credit Operation Smile, I credit my cleft to literally the individual I am today. And I'm so grateful for it. And I just want to challenge everyone else. You guys all have your own Everest, you guys don't have clefts, but maybe it's like abuse or I don't know. Everyone has their own Everest. And I just want you to just climb that Everest and find out why it's in your life, learn from it and grow from it, because it will make you a better person. That's why we all have our Everest, is to learn and grow and become a better person.
Thank you, Christy. That's a wonderful insight. Thank you. So Emma Morris in chat said, thank you all so much for sharing. I've heard many of your stories before and still cry every time. Your openness is truly inspiring. I do have a question. Would you change having a cleft condition if you could?
I can answer this one if I could. I'd say no. And I feel like that is a cliche sort of answer in a way. But just like how I'm a twin, people ask me like, what's it like being a twin? I don't know any other way. And it's almost as simple as that. But one part, as Christy was saying, we all have our own Everest. But one part about having a cleft is it almost forces you in a way to become the strongest version of yourself. And I've found that to be very true. A lot of us are subject to bullying because of it. And just knowing the stories within this group, we've had many other conversations amongst ourselves that we have gone through specific bullying, and it will be lifelong for us in most cases. Like I was called horrible things when talking about Operation Smile in an interview for a college. Like there are things that you do not expect, but it happens. But I would say that I would not be half of the most resilient people in my life that I know happen to have clefts. And I personally would not be as resilient as I am or as creative or outspoken if I didn't have to think on my toes or kind of shove off the bad things that were said about me. So yeah, it might be a little bit cliche, but I would not change it for the world.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that answer entirely. Quick sidebar, what college was that? Because I will go burn it down. That's absurd. I'm sorry that you had to endure that, but like Amelie said, there's I have no idea where I would be in my life without my cleft. And well, actually, I do. I wouldn't be here right now, and I wouldn't be in this position, and I wouldn't have the same experiences or perspective on the world. It is like, as Emily said, a cliche, but absolutely not.
Yeah, kind of going.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just moving on.
No, it's okay. Going off of what Amelie and Bray were saying, definitely having a cleft has given me so much understanding on what it's like to be like the odd one out. Had I not have a cleft, I probably just, I don't know, my personality wouldn't be completely different perhaps, and I would just have no idea what it would be like to just, you know, like be the odd one out or be like different than others. Yeah, I was going to say something else, but I suddenly blanked. It's okay.
Oh, good.
I would have to agree with all of you. I would not change it at all because it's definitely made me who I am today. It's made me a more empathetic and kind person. But I know when I was younger, I would have said, oh God, yes, I wish I would have born with this. I remember just absolutely hating it and having to go and have all these operations and feeling different. I always looked at the negative side of it. But then when you focus on the positive side and all the positive things that have come from it, I've met so many people, I've done so many things that without my cleft, I wouldn't have done. And I think, as I said before, it has made me who I am today. And I think that's one of the most important things I've taken from it. I'm glad I was born with it because without it, I would be a completely different person.
Just to add to what everyone's saying, I agree. I also wouldn't change it. And, you know, obviously it's not something I'd wish upon someone else because no one wants to like put their kid through surgery or no one wants to not be able, like one of my surgeries I had, I couldn't like walk for a few days and like no one wants that. But then again, like everyone has their Everest and everyone's going to have something that they're going to go through and it's going to make you a much stronger person. And just in my experience, shoot, I had a thought and I completely just blanked. But I just think like in my experience too, like you're going to go through something, but like surrounding yourself like with like the right people and everything, like it makes you so much stronger. And I remember like Bridget came up to me like in 2016 when I attended like my first ISLC and like asked me to join like everyone for lunch and talk about our experiences and just being able to share them and like realize it like makes you unique and everything. It's been awesome. But no, to add to that, I wouldn't change it either.
Can I ask a question from the panel? From a mom's perspective, when I want Les's personality is more quiet. Once you get to know him, he's not quiet at all. But I would say initially his teachers would say he's more of a quiet child, whereas my oldest son, you know, could walk up to a brick wall and, you know, make it laugh, basically. But do you remember your parents trying to push you towards being a more vocal person? You know, I've asked, you know, we try and get him involved and he is, but at what point do you not push a child with an issue too far? You know, because I want to be sensitive to the fact that he might not feel as comfortable as his older brother doing something, but at the same time, do you feel, did your parents push you too much or not enough? Or do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like,
absolutely.
Okay.
For me personally, my parents, my mother especially, really tried to push into there's nothing, she leaned heavily on there's nothing different about you than there is from other children. That kind of perspective really stuck with me for many years because if there was nothing different from me, why do I get treated differently? Why are all these people saying these things about me versus some of the other kids where they don't go after some of the things that they can't control, but they do that for me. So what I think I needed to hear in order to, because I was a very quiet kid too. And then once you met me, I couldn't stop talking. If I was comfortable around you, I would just explode into whatever I was interested in at that point in time. Honestly, because it was so pent up in me that I didn't have an outlet of like sharing that with my friends and people like around me. But I think what I really needed to hear in those formative years was a sort of acknowledgement that yes, there is something different. People might look at you differently. They might treat you differently. I think we're in a much warmer world now, based on current events and things that have been happening. But I think an acknowledgement of the difference, as well as just a realization that, and a sort of explanation that there is nothing wrong with it. The difference might exist, but it doesn't make you any less than. I think that that's what I needed to hear. But I mean, no fault to my mother. She did the best she could. Like you said, she went to Holland and she was planning on Italy, but she ended up in Holland. So she did the best that she could. Specifically in regards to like pushing them to participate in activities, I think that entirely depends on the individual. Because I think what I would have needed in that regard could be totally different than what Amelie or Sarah or Rosie needed. I was pushing into certain activities that I didn't really have an interest in myself, just because it was a social activity. Like my mom really wanted me to play soccer. I hated running, but it was a social activity. So I stood on the sidelines and kind of talked to the coach because he would talk to me. But yeah, that's my answer on that.
Leah, I was just saying, I think it's really important just to be honest with Les. And I think I have seen a couple of questions about how would we raise our children. I love my parents so much, and I have nothing. I mean, I don't want to say that this was bad how they raised me by any means, but I just be honest with him, let him, be very open with the fact that he might be different. Ask him how he's feeling, talk to him about being different, and explain why it's amazing to be different and what his differences have to offer. My mom and I, when I was little, we had this thing, just her and I. There's 6 kids in my family, and this was just her and me. We just had this little thing where every day it was like a contest to see who could say this first, but we would always say, "I love you and you look so pretty." And I would try to beat her in the morning, and she would try to beat me, but every day it was, "I love you and you look so pretty." And remember when M&Ms came out with their little saying M&Ms, and you could like personalize them? I had this amazing idea to personalize M&Ms for her for Mother's Day. And I just thought it was the coolest gift. And yes, these M&Ms said, "I love you and you look so pretty." And I was so excited to give these to her, and I gave them to her, and she's like, "Oh, this is so great." And then she said, which I didn't know all these years, she's like, "I started saying that so you would have," how did she say it? "So that you wouldn't feel so bad when other people made fun of you." And suddenly something that meant so much to me my entire life was just shattered. And I'm like, "You lied to me? All these years you lied to me, and this 'I love you and you look so pretty' wasn't real." So that has always stuck with me. And just, I mean, you can do cute little things with him like that, but just be honest and open and allow him to share his feelings. And again, like I said, just help him understand what his differences can offer the world.
Leah, I'd also add that don't be afraid to encourage your child to try different like extracurriculars and stuff like that. When I was younger, especially, I did a lot of performing arts, and I was a very, very shy kid, but my parents encouraged me to do acting and singing, public speaking and stuff like that. So I did a lot of that when I was younger. And like I remember first starting off, I was very nervous because I was like, oh, like I have a cleft and I don't know if I'm enunciating my words properly and stuff like that. But it turns out a lot of the teachers at my school really enjoyed like the way that I like did public speaking and stuff like that, because they're like, oh, you're one of the very few kids like at the school who can actually like project your voice and stuff like that, and to actually execute all of these things like on stage like well and confidently. So it definitely like having the encouragement from my parents to join these kinds of things, while I just didn't really want to, actually helped me gain confidence in terms of speaking publicly, and just, acting and singing on stage. So yeah, as long as you try your best to give different opportunities for a child and also provide support through that, like, it will definitely help.
Just to add to that, I was the same. I did a lot of performing, and actually, I'm making it a career. So yeah, it really helps to do something like that because I'm such a shy person. If I don't know people, I don't know a group, and there's a big group of people that I know each other so well, I'm so nervous. But doing something like being on stage, all that goes away for some reason. And if you can, maybe Les can find something that he loves so much that all of the nerves just go away and disappear. Definitely, like doing something that you love so much really helps you get confident in doing that. And you still might be shy in other situations, but definitely performing helped me as well a lot, like Flo.
And just to add to like what everyone else has said, so when I growing up, I had an older sister, so the two of us like played a lot of sports. So I was always just kind of like shoved onto like the teams, and I liked it. I played a bunch of different sports growing up, and that kind of helped me like break out of my shell, and I didn't feel as different, even though I knew that I was. And I think as a parent, it's like when you have a child who's different, my parents definitely did a good job at this at most times, but I think like it's important to be empathetic to people, not only if they were born with a cleft lip, but people who are just different. So like when you're young and you see your parent like treating someone who's different like with respect, or just treating all people like kindly, that's like really important, because you want when you're older and you're interacting with someone, you don't want them to look at you like you're and treat you differently just because you have like a certain condition. So make sure that like as a parent, like you set like a good example for your kid. And then another thing that I just thought of was that like it's okay if you're not the person that your kid goes to like when they're older to talk about their experience with their cleft, because I know that I don't necessarily talk to my parents about it either, right, like on like a regular basis or anything. Like the people on this panel are the people that I've shared those experiences with, just because I know that like no one else would ever like understand. So even though you want to be the person they go to, sometimes just making sure that they know that there's other people that can be relatable for them like later on. Like it's just important for me to like have these people here, because I don't necessarily go to my parents for my questions or like talk about my experiences with my cleft lip.
Yeah, really quick to feed off of what Rosie said, my mom started like introducing me to people with similar experiences as me from a very young age. I think I was like 3 years old, and she heard like from a family through her church, or well, our church, that like, oh, they're expecting a kid with a cleft like on the ultrasound, and like the mom was just had all sorts of anxiety about it. And then my mom brought me to their house. I was like jumping all over the furniture, happy as can be. Like I was like fresh out of surgery kind of situation, and it brought a lot of peace to the mom. And then like it was just after that I started going to like these lunches just as like an elementary school kid. And then when I moved to Virginia Beach, I started doing like the World Care Patient thing. So it's just where like that situation's when like a kid, they bring them from like one of the mission sites to the United States to operate on them because their conditions like too severe to operate on in at the mission site. So like I was meeting kids like from an early age, and then I had this community and I knew I wasn't alone. So I think that's like the biggest thing that helped me. And I knew that I wasn't like, I was unique in my own sense, but there were other unique people just like me that I would be able to confide in.
I think it's really easy, especially when you're like middle school, early high school age, to get really bogged down and thinking, oh my gosh, this is my world, school is my world, these are my people. They're all kids my age. And especially with bullying, that could be really hard. I know personally, I was a very, very shy person. And I also had theater as an outlet because I felt like most of my life I was acting as well, just to kind of get through the day. So I think it's really important to have some moments to get your son out of what may be the everyday routine and say like, hey, the world's a lot bigger than what it feels like right now. Like after my surgeries, I had, swollen eyes, craniofacial surgeries, with rhinoplasties and all that. my dad would be like, you know what, we're going to play hooky. We're going to go to museum. Your face is completely swollen. You're recovering. You're miserable, but we're going to do something that you love and just take a breather. So I think it's important to have those bonding, but also sort of enlightening moments with your son. And I think it'll be fun for both of you to just kind of take a breath and take a moment and get to know that there are other people like my friends here have been saying, there are other people that are like him. And I didn't know any at the time. So I wish I had that as well.
So we have a question from Tante. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Truly love the stories you all shared. I have a question as well. Did the bullying that you guys faced during your younger years shape you to become stronger individuals?
I can share on that. Sorry, I feel like I'm sharing too much, you guys.
There's no such thing.
Absolutely, 100%. Like I said before, I would never change what I've been through. Like just a couple really quick mission experiences. My very first mission was to Lima, Peru, and the very first patient that our entire team encountered was a 7-month-old with a cleft lip, and came to the mission site with Dad. And through an interpreter, we found out that Mom had abandoned the dad and the baby when she saw that he was born with a cleft. And my first instinct hearing that was like, oh my gosh, what if my mom abandoned me? I mean, people do that. They just abandon their children because they're different. And that was heartbreaking to me. And I kind of took this little family under my wing. Again, this was my first mission, and my first patient that I got close to. I got really close to Dad, and just really helped them through the whole, everything with the whole mission week. I've had a million experiences, but that one stands out. And then also, I had some computer problems, but I'm pretty sure that Mara and Rosie were talking about showing pictures on their missions. That's something that I did as well when I was in India. Took some before and after pictures, and it was super awkward, with parents parents realized that I had this book of my baby pictures, and they'd come over to me and want to look at the book, and they just like stare at the picture, stare up at me, stare up at me, and it's so awkward. And between the experience I had with my first little patient in Peru and this experience in India, plus a plethora more, I just thought, everything that I endured through my childhood, that all the bullying, the crap that you dealt with everything that comes with a cleft, if the reason I went through that was to help these families, to help these patients, then so be it. And I will feel awkward for that patient. I will feel awkward for that family, because I went through, pardon my French, I went through a hell of a lot to get to this point, and I will help them in any means possible. So yes, absolutely, I would not trade even all the bullying for it, because my experiences have made other people's lives better.
Thank you, Chris. I definitely agree with that. The bullying that I kind of faced was really name calling and kind of just like exclusion. But I think that helped me realize who I am individually. And that eventually I came to the realization that it doesn't really matter what other people think. And I know that I can be the best person on my own. It also helped me just sort of realize the reality of other people's opinions don't necessarily matter if I'm confident enough in myself. So I definitely think that was the strongest realization that I've made as a result of the bullying.
You guys, I thank you so much for. This is another question. Yeah, let's answer this in a second. But I also, now that you're a more mature group of students than maybe back in Rome, I've been talking to Leah a little bit about this, Leah, and how we can do a better job as an organization in making sure that students like yourselves know that we are here as a means to provide support. And we are really looking to you all to be that lead for us, because you all were kind of that first group that came on board. And I know there are others that are probably inclined to join in that are attending this conference, but I would really like to get back in touch with you all, like soon, including Lisa and Leah, because I do feel like we have an incredible opportunity to provide support for other children. And, you know, Leah's looking at her son now at 11, but it's not going to be too much longer that, you know, he's in high school, and that's when things get really tricky. So I know that we can provide the means and create an incredible program around this. And I just wanted to say to you all that, you know, I'm inviting you now face to face, because I know it's so hard to get you all together. And we'll look to, you know, maybe pop on even maybe as early as next week if we can, before you guys start up in school again, so that we can have this conversation. But thank you. I know, is this one more question here? How can we support patients' parents? Are there any tips to remind them that we are willing to help both their child and them? And we'll take this as the last question.
I know that patient-parent support was one of the issues that my parents had a lot of kind of trouble overcoming. From one of my surgeries, I was sent home. You saw in the pictures with just incredibly swollen face. My teeth were wired together. I was on liquid diet for 6 months, and they were given 3 instructions as to what to do with me. It was keep his head elevated, put ice on, and liquid diet. They didn't actually talk about the fact that there was all this blood coming down from my nose and just kind of clotting up in my throat. And then one day when I was like, oh, I think I might be choking, and in actuality, I was just regurgitating the swallowed blood that I had been swallowing, coughed it up into my mouth, and I had to take scissors. This is a whole story. I took scissors and a bottle of vodka because it was the quickest thing I could find, poured the vodka on the scissors so it was sterile, and just cut the rubber bands holding my teeth together, and just started coughing up blood that was just left over from the surgery. And you can't prepare for everything, but that's just one example of times that like things were had that there was no real preparation or discussion about. So I think building a sort of network of experiences like we've been able to share with each other. And Leah, for sure, like whenever your son has surgeries coming up, reach out. I know I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve in regards to recovery and some of the things that you can do on liquid diet. Pro tip, Chipotle burrito, not it. Definitely don't recommend, even though they will follow you on Twitter if you tweet about it. But that sort of the information gap is definitely the biggest bridge to cross in at least parental support. And then like Leah was saying, just emotional support for the children. That's a very big role that parents have the unique ability to fulfill. And I mean, regardless of your child, whether you're in Italy or Holland, it's hard to be there for your child, I'm sure. Speaking as a child myself, I still refuse to think of myself as an adult these days. But yeah, I think that is the best way is to provide as much information as possible, just about anything and everything.
Any other comments from you guys about that?
I know my mum, when I was born, she didn't know I was going to be born with a cleft or anything. So out I popped, and they were like, oh, she's got cleft palate. And my mum was like, what is that? I don't know what that is. So if you went on Google, and of course on Google, you don't know what you're going to see. It's probably not the best place to find out information because you just hear all these horror stories. So I think now it's a lot more well known what a cleft is. So, and there's a lot more tools and resources on the website from different charities, especially in the UK, where they explain it all in a really nice way and what's going to happen and that everything's fine. But I know for my mum, it was a really scary experience because she had no idea what was going to happen. She thought I wouldn't be able to speak at all. I would never be able to go to a normal school because she'd never seen anyone with a cleft before. She'd never heard of it at all. And so I think making sure that the information is out there, and as soon as this child is born, you get given like an information pack and you're reassured that your child is fine. They're just going to have some operations and it's going to be really tough, but they're going to get through it, and it's not going to stop them from doing anything they want in their life. They can do whatever they want.
Thank you, Zoe. I know that Brady is going to be joining us for another semester and as an intern, and he's going to be working closely with Ruben Ayala, who is our Chief Medical Officer, and creating some platforms for advocacy around cleft lip and palate with USAID. And so with his time and his commitment to that, I do feel like we have, it's kind of like the time is now, you know, we can act on this. So getting your feedback is definitely super important. Thank you, all of you. It's really, really good to see your faces again. And we will be calling on you. We appreciate your continued involvement. For those of you who are participating that may want to sync in with this group, we invite you to do that, to reach out to Brady. Maybe Brady, put your email in the chat, please.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're off to good things, some new good things as always with Operation Smile. And that's it. Morgan